Has anyone ever told you about certain kind of foodborne illnesses or food poisoning risks in pregnancy? Have you ever heard of the term listeria or listeriosis, maybe? That's what we're going to talk about today because it's a topic that many people worry about with regard to the types of food they can eat, and specifically, what is it about listeria during pregnancy? Welcome to the Dr. Lexi Show, where I take pregnancy topics and break them down into simple terms to help you advocate for yourself and your pregnancy. I'm Dr. Lexi, a board-certified OBGYN and maternal fetal medicine specialist, which just means a high-risk pregnancy doctor. And today we're talking about listeria. So I always start these informational YouTubes with expanding your knowledge. So why don't we talk a little bit about what is listeria? So when people hear about different things they can and can't eat during pregnancy, they always kind of think about cheese, lunch meat, hot dogs comes up, and fish. So I have different YouTubes about these topics. There's particularly one on cheese. There's also one on fish during pregnancy. This one is going to specifically talk about the bacteria that we're worried about, which is called Listeria. So to expand our knowledge a little bit more, what is Listeria? Listeria is a type of bacteria, and the bacteria can be on certain foods. And the foods that we worry about are going to be cheeses that are unpasteurized and meats that are not cooked up to a high enough level. And so let's learn a little bit more about that. So what is it about a cheese that makes it pasteurized? They have to actually go through a process to increase the temperature to kill this certain bacteria and other bacteria, and then they can bring the temperature back down. Some people say it actually kills a little bit of the flavor. I'm not a big cheese eater, but anyway, in case you're curious about that, that's what the pasteurization process for cheese is about. So we know that Listeria is a bacteria. We know that to kill it, we have to undergo pasteurization in cheeses. And with meats, it's heating the meat up or getting it over a temperature of approximately 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's where people get the discussion about lunch meats and hot dogs. So as long as you're getting them above that temperature threshold to kill this bacteria, that's considered the safe place. And then the third question, to kind of expand our knowledge a little bit more, is what is it that you would see if you had listeria? Meaning if you had that bacteria that caused you to get sick. And we also then call that listeriosis, because that's when someone is sick with the bacteria of listeria. So you would typically have symptoms like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Now, these are typical symptoms of food poisoning. And I don't know if anyone out there has ever had food poisoning, but it is one of the worst things. I don't want to say in the world, that's pretty aggressive, but I will tell you a quick little story. I had food poisoning my sophomore year in college. And I remember it was from eating a burger from a place I will not name, but they had really good slushies. And I wish that I would have gotten free slushies from there for the rest of my life. But they undercooked a sandwich, and it was a chicken sandwich. Pardon me. It was a grilled chicken sandwich that wasn't cooked all the way. Long and short, I got sick, ended up in the hospital for about a week, and it was not so fun. So if you have the symptoms of severe nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, I'm talking like you're losing 5 to 10 pounds in a day or two. This is significant dehydration, vomiting, diarrhea, that kind of stuff. That is a typical symptom of food poisoning. Now, just so you're aware as well, listeria that gets into the bloodstream, or listeriosis as we would call it, when you have the infection of the bacteria within your bloodstream, oftentimes doesn't present for a while. So it's not like you would eat the food and know immediately. So just be aware of that. I'll include some links below from the CDC that can help you to track any of these illnesses that may be going around in your neck of the woods. The other thing on expanding our knowledge that I want you to be aware of, there are various types of foods, not just cheeses or lunch meats and hot dogs, that can have listeria. You can have this in vegetables and fruits as well. It can also be found in ice cream. So just be aware of that. All right, so now let's develop some skills. Question number 1, how do you know to choose the right food so that you can avoid listeria? Remember, for cheeses, we want pasteurized, okay? And you can oftentimes see that on the back of the labels. So for example, this is a cheese curd, pre-packaged. On the back, ingredients first is cheese, thank goodness. And it says pasteurized cow's milk in parentheses. So you know that this is pasteurized, which is great. Other foods to try to figure out with that, meats, you want the meats to be heated enough So if you're cooking them, then you're able to tell that. If you're ordering it from somewhere, you can ask them. You can also ask for any cuts of meat to be heated a little higher than typical. Remember, you want to be above 165 degrees Fahrenheit is the goal, to get high enough to kill that bacteria. And then the third thing, when we're looking at how do you choose the right kind of food, making sure that your fruits and vegetables are thoroughly washed. Question number 2, what do you do if you think you have symptoms of listeriosis, meaning you ate something and now you feel bad and you think you have food poisoning from something where you could have ingested listeria? Call your doctor immediately, go to the hospital immediately. Okay, alert someone that is your OB provider and skirt on into the hospital so they can evaluate you, check you out, get you some fluids, and see if indeed it is listeria. Third question, what if you don't know if something is safe to eat? Answer to that is just don't eat it. If you don't know if a cheese is pasteurized or unpasteurized, if you don't know if the meat has been heated enough, don't take the chance. That's the best and the safest way to look at it. So I recently was up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and they had a farmer's market, and that's where I got the lovely cheese curds. They had goat cheese, excuse me. And there's different ways to have goat cheese, I guess. And I'm not French, but the chèvre is listed on here. And they actually list their ingredients, and the first ingredient is pasteurized goat milk. So even when you're looking at various types of cheeses that are not just regular cheddar and stuff like that, goat cheeses will have a listing of whether they're pasteurized or not. So if you're particularly going to like a farmer's market or somewhere that's not a grocery store, feel free to ask them, look at the labels, check in. If you're confused, remember, or if they don't label it or they're not sure if something is pasteurized or unpasteurized, just don't eat it. All right, finally, let's look at the impact we're going to be having from learning about listeria. Happy and healthy pregnancy. Happy because you can eat the foods that you like and know which ones are considered safe to eat. And then for the healthy portion of the pregnancy, trying to avoid any food that could put you at risk for getting a foodborne illness, for getting some type of food poisoning like listeriosis, is definitely increasing the healthiness of your pregnancy. So I'm so glad you could learn all those things. Let's do a quick recap on the 3 main things I want you to have for a takeaway regarding listeria. Number 1, avoid unpasteurized cheeses. These are going to be things mainly like feta, brie, and queso fresco. Thing number 2, make sure that you are heating meats enough, particularly those lunch meats and hot dogs, getting them above 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Thing number 3, make sure that your fruits and vegetables are thoroughly washed. All right, I will leave some links below for you from the CDC with regard to listeria. I will also include below the download for the 13 questions to ask your OB provider. You can also find that at drlexihill.com/advocate. All right, I'm going to go finish my little wheel of cheese. I'm curious how people eat this, because I leave it in like half of it, and then I kind of eat it while it's within the other half of the little circle thing. I don't know if other people do that, but that's how I eat my cheese, with these little wheels. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed learning about listeria today and you had some fun tips to take away with you. I'm Dr. Lexi, and as always, wishing you a happy and healthy pregnancy. That's good.